For the longest time, there had been a treasure trove of cut and unseen beta footage from Spec Ops: The Line's development. It went undiscovered on a developer portfolio by Nipton, a VFX artist. And it surfaced very recently. Again, even though it had been always accessible, in early 2026, members of the Media Oasis Discord came across it, re-uploaded it, salvaged it on YouTube, and now it's something you can just look through regularly. It includes a lot of scenes of in-game moments, effects being active, models, to some copyrighted background music, so I won't be playing that part. There are some scenes we've already witnessed, like the interrogation of Chapter 7, but so much else is seen, including things that I'm still trying to piece together. So I'm just going to go through this bit by bit to get a feel for what all went on in this and what I'm going to try to make of it. Starting out, Spec Ops logo is different. The line isn't featured. The crosses, the hash marks through the line are present through Ops instead. There were early versions of the logo out there, including one that called it Spec Ops Dust to Dust. It seems like it took a bit to figure out the name for it, but it was always going to be part of the Spec Ops brand. Video itself starts out simply with Walker in a test map and a burning palm tree, probably to test fire effects. Then it's an earlier version of Walker falling off a skyscraper. The skyscraper's clearly not quite textured yet, followed by the interrogation scene that was featured at E3 2010. Though notably, this includes the aftermath. The E3 footage cuts off after the interrogator orders the sandboarding to begin. We also see a woman at Chapter 9's road, with dust being kicked up around her. This seems like a standard civilian model. I guess it was just to test sand clouds, after which is an explosion test using the RPG. This might be another test map also. There's the shot of Walker looking up into the burning sky, squad going through the desert, an early version of the squad with Lugo with the backwards cap and the old face. Another interesting part is that the location of this I can't make sense of. Maybe it's meant to be an early version of Chapter 3's Sandstorm, but I can't figure out where this scene is supposed to take place at. It doesn't match up with any of the known locations in the game. The lighting doesn't really add up for it, and it looks like a scripted sequence or a cutscene. Maybe it was a moment that was scrapped entirely, but this looks like it would have been from an even earlier version of the game's development or story. After that, there's some footage of dust and debris in what is an early version of Chapter 7's intro. Notably, that is significantly darker in the final game. Whereas here, there's just a lot of brown dust everywhere. You can still see things pretty clearly. Also a shot of the flamethrower in action, including death animations for the fire being tested on the old man civilian of all things, with Walker spraying the flamethrower on him. I guess in the test maps, Walker doesn't really have that same morality going on. Something worth noting is that it doesn't look like the flamethrower is textured here. It just looks like it has a flat, yellowish texture on it. This does line up with the model we have in the multiplayer beta, which lacks a texture. It only seems like in the 2010 era trailers there's a texture, but outside of that, that texture hasn't surfaced, unfortunately. So we may never get the proper design for the flamethrower, because it seems like Jaeger themselves weren't too certain how to make it look. Some more scenes of fire. This looks like the outside of Riggs' compound in Chapter 10. The significant part here is a full ride-through, or a long ride-through, of Chapter 10 Part 2, which was going to be set in the daytime, with a chopper attacking the water trucks and blowing them up rather than Riggs crashing them. It shows someone in a sand wrap fighting against other enemies in a very dusty environment. It looks like something out of the 2008 trailer. This might be an early version of Walker or an early version of his Sandstorm gear. And the guns they're carrying look odd as well. They look like they have flashlights attached to the side of them if you look closely, which might line up with the Chapter 7 footage again. But the flashlights weren't apparently visible in that footage, so I don't know what to make of it. At first I thought it was some sort of underbarrel grenade launcher, but it's an attachment clearly mounted to the side of the gun. It's a blink and miss it moment, but it's pretty crazy. Immediately following that, you can see Walker falling into the pit, or someone who looks like Walker. He has the M101-4 on his back, and he's carrying the M4A1. The shotgun has a shell holder attached to its stock. The crosshair is different as well for the M4. The closer I look, the more it seems like there might actually be some sort of underbarrel attachment. It's hard to make out, though. You only get bits of the footage. It has the EOTech sight along with a front sight, whereas the beta model for the M4 lacks the front sight. It just has the holographic sight. But this looks like an early version of Walker falling into the pit, followed by a scene of, I guess, either the 33rd or the looters falling through the ceiling. An early version of what I guess could be Chapter 7? I don't know, there are scripted sequences where soldiers and marauders, looters, have the glass ceiling shot out from under them. So maybe this is one of those moments. Then there's a very strange scene. A brief moment of Walker attacking someone at what looks like an early version of the refugee camp and then beating him down viciously, using what looks like the same animations are used against the hallucination atoms in Chapter 12, if you choose to melee him. This is again what looks like the early version of Walker. He's carrying a gun that doesn't look like the M4. The design is different, the color is different. We know what the beta M4 looks like. This takedown animation is a lot more brutal, and it looks like the gun he's carrying has an underbarrel weapon for real this time. Now, there's a render of the level 2 beta multiplayer heavy character for the Exiles faction. He's carrying an M16 with an M203 grenade launcher. That gun has never shown up in any other renders. I thought it was just made for the render, but it makes me wonder if it was considered. Maybe that was the original weapon with a grenade launcher instead of the SCAR. But then they changed it to a SCAR to be less redundant. Who knows? What is interesting is this guy Walker's beating up. We don't know who he is. He looks like a 33rd soldier with blonde hair, which doesn't really fit any descriptions we know of for characters. I mean, maybe this was a very early version of McPherson. But Walker is absolutely going to town on this guy. He knocks him to the ground with his gun and just starts beating him. It is very bizarre. I don't know what the context of this is. Maybe they witnessed the 33rd kills civilians for the first time. Maybe this ties into that cut achievement, First Blood, which was obtained when you killed your first of Conrad's soldiers. There's more scenes from the interrogation again. This goes on beyond the E3 version of that scene, which was cut off right before the gunfire started. There's also more of a fire going on in the background while the interrogation is happening. It seems like the game just is slower to run overall. There are a lot more details. There's also a scene of Walker finding Riggs by the truck fire. Walker, notably, does not have the severely burned design that he does in this scene in the final game. And it's also set during the daytime in a clearly visible area. It's not in the intense firestorm of Chapter 11's intro. Riggs also doesn't seem as burned, though he still seems pinned under the truck wreckage. There's an early version of Walker kicking the door and getting hit by the sand avalanche at the end of Chapter 5. We saw a bit of that earlier on. Then Walker entering the refugee camp in Chapter 4, with some sort of strange effect. I think it might be that cut scan feature that you could have your squad mates do. They're appearing blue, and they're visible through walls, maybe to indicate friendly areas and hostile areas. I don't know. But this is a case of diving into what is clearly a more decorated and detailed refugee camp. This is the one we saw in trailers that we never got the final version of. There are less civilians in this immediate spot, but we knew they were there otherwise. Then, after that, we get more of the Chapter 7 intro. Now, there was an objective in an early version of this level to get out of the wreckage. Maybe there was supposed to be some combat there, or maybe it played a larger part beyond the cutscene. Regardless, there's a lot to see. This isn't the dim blue lighting. This is pretty clear, pretty visible. And again, back to the interrogation, you actually see the civilian get shot. Though there is something else worth noting, that the interrogator uses a Desert Eagle in this segment. He does not use the M9A1 pistol that he does in the final game. He whips out the big hand cannon to execute her. Would have been a little underwhelming if they'd used the M9 handgun shot still, but I'm sure they changed that for the final game. And that's it. There's a lot of scenes to dwell on, to consider. The strangest thing is probably that scene of Walker taking down a guy and beating him senseless with his rifle. I'd love to know the context for that, why that happened, what led to that point. I've delved into some of those with that Conrad Lives plot treatment, but I think there's a lot more to learn about this game. And I look forward to more revelations eventually coming out. I mean, if this was lying around, nobody noticed, who knows what else is? We just have to keep digging under the surface, I suppose. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, the frame-by-frame breakdowns, what exactly you make of the footage. I mean, hey, I'm all ears. And I always love hearing other theories, because there are blind spots that I miss. And it's good to get a second opinion. But thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoy diving down this rabbit hole, assuming you haven't already seen the VFX test. It's been uploaded to YouTube on at least a couple of channels now. I'm glad it's being preserved. I downloaded the video myself just in case anything happened to it. I doubt that Jaeger or 2K would do anything since this was on a public portfolio after all. Well, thank you all for watching, and take care.